Hello once again, all you devilishly wonderful people. I'm very glad you can make it back here today. My name's Nick, and today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite filmmakers ever, Quentin Tarantino. I think it's pretty obvious that I didn't really get into Quentin Tarantino or really even discover him until a lot later in my life. I actually didn't really discover Quentin Tarantino until I really got into movies a couple of years ago. Regardless, he's become one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. So today, I'm going to go through every single movie of his that I have ever seen. Unfortunately, that is not all of them, and I'm going to go in chronological order. So to start, let's take a trip back to 1994, the City of Angels. Is an amazing movie, but what sets it apart from all other movies is the dialogue. I'm going to say it up front, Quentin Tarantino is the absolute king of dialogue. There is not a person on this planet who can write a scene of just people talking so impressive and so riveting the way that Tarantino can. Every single character with any lines at all is very unique and interesting. Even the minor characters in Bruce Willis's story arc. But we'll get to that later. First, we should start at the beginning. The movie starts with a conversation between Tim Roth and... who is that? Oh, it's the crazy sister from So I Married an Axe Murderer. Spoilers for that movie. What's her name? Amanda Plummer. They are talking about robbing liquor stores and banks and whatnot, but slowly but surely come to the conclusion that they should rob the diner that they're at. All of this, and the camera never leaves them sitting in their booth. Their conversation naturally progresses the story without them doing anything. It all feels so real and natural, and Tim Roth and Amanda Plummer are both delivering very good performances. But we cannot talk about this movie without looking at the dialogue in even more depth. The other aspect of the writing, aside from the dialogue, is the unspoken communication. This is another one of Tarantino's strengths, in that sometimes he says so much more about the characters and themes of the movie without having any of the characters even speak a word. I'm going to show you one shot in this movie, and I not only want you to count the number of words spoken, but I also want you to make note of what the character is feeling at that moment. That's right, there were exactly 0 spoken words, and yet I bet you that without even having context for that scene, you knew exactly what Bruce Willis's character was thinking about and how he was feeling. Let's go in order of appearance. I already mentioned Tim Roth and Amanda Plummer. They're great. They both have such great chemistry and both give convincing performances. Sam Jackson and John Travolta are even better. I love Samuel L. Jackson, and in this movie, you get the best of 2 Sam Jacksons. You get screaming, cursing, snakes on a plane Sam Jackson, but you also get quiet, contemplative, and serious Mace Windu Sam Jackson. I am not, however, a fan of John Travolta, normally. There's a reason his career died once in the 70s, and there's a reason that his career died again in the 90s. But in this movie, he's just incredible. I don't know whether to give credit to Tarantino's direction, or Tarantino's writing, or his co-stars for elevating him, but he really is perfect for the role, and he's near perfect in this movie. He and Samuel L. just have such amazing chemistry. They are great together in this movie and alone. They are both incredible. Who plays Lance is also really great in this movie. Fun little tidbit, Quentin Tarantino almost played Lance, but he decided that he wanted to be behind the camera for the sequence when... That's not really important. What is important is that the guy that plays Lance is very good in this movie. So is Uma Thurman. Uma Thurman and John Travolta have great chemistry too, and a lot of their scenes together are really just them talking. Bruce Willis is very, very good in this movie. Like John Travolta, I'm generally not really a fan of Bruce Willis in movies, especially not recently. But he is great in this movie. Ving Rhames as Marcellus Wallace is just perfect. I don't know what else I can say. Ving Rhames looks perfect, and he just is perfect for this role. Harvey Keitel is always good, and I mean always good. He's the best part of that sucky National Treasure movie, and he's great in this movie. That's it for the main leads, but I want to talk about some of the smaller roles in this movie that really elevate it to being great. And by that I mean, we're going to talk about Christopher Walken.
I gotta have more cowbell.
Christopher Walken may be the best thing in any movie ever. He's only in one scene in this movie, and technically only has one line, but it is a monologue that may honestly be the best monologue ever. It is so funny and entertaining, and it would not be nearly as entertaining if not for Christopher Walken. He's the only human on the planet who could have ever delivered that monologue and made it as incredible as it was.
He died of dysentery. Give me the watch. I hid this uncomfortable hunk of metal up my ass 2 years. I got a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell.
It's the little things about his shot composition that really makes things fun. Let's look at this single shot that really honestly doesn't even need to be in this movie of Bruce Willis turning and looking at John Travolta. That was an insert shot that could have been totally removed and nothing would have changed in the grand scheme of things. But look at the way Tarantino moves the camera. Look at the way the scene is lit and how the red lights behind Bruce Willis are out of focus and swirling behind him. It's such a simple shot, but Tarantino makes it so much more visually interesting just because he can. There are a plethora of shots and visuals like this throughout the movie. A good example is that scene of Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta talking about foot massages. That entire scene is all one long extended shot, which is impressive despite the general lack of exciting things happening. Like I said earlier, Tarantino is the master of dialogue. He is the king of making people talking the most tense and climactic scenes in any movie ever, and yet he still excels at creating fun action scenes where people don't talk. He's one of the greatest filmmakers ever because everything he has ever made has come from his own creativity. He was never schooled on what makes a good movie. He actually originally wanted to be an actor, but he was born to direct movies. He did what every kid from a crap town wishes they could do, and just pack up, go to Hollywood, and become famous just because of how good at making movies you are. Tarantino is the gold standard of Hollywood in terms of his own story and the movies that he makes. There are thousands of stories of people going to Hollywood and barely making it out alive. But Tarantino's story is proof that any kid can become a superstar, as long as they have creativity, no matter how blindly blissful that fantasy may be. As much as I hate to admit it, deep down inside, I know that I want to be Tarantino. Makes the dream seem realistic, despite how unrealistic I know that it is in my conscious mind. If it weren't for his insane antics when not making a movie, I might actually think that I could just pack up, go west, and become the greatest filmmaker the world has ever seen. The only thing keeping me here is my own free will, and frankly, I think I'm comfortable on this side of the continent. I'll see you next week.